Slavic legends speak of a spirit that haunts the forest and woodlands, bringing horrible chaos to those that wish to harm their territories, but bringing blessings of sorcery or mystical abilities with those of goodwill towards their lands. This creature is almost never seen. It is infamous for getting people trapped in the woodlands when they wander too deep. Good evening, tunnel runners. I am the Rat Man, and I heard that you want to hunt a Leshy. In this video, I am going to be telling you exactly what the Leshy is, what exactly it does, its abilities, all that jazz, and how to kill it. This is going to be hopefully packed full of information. I've been researching a lot of other videos about Leshies, and they all have like bits of information that I have in this video. I've compiled it, but I've also done my own research, so I've got some things that you probably haven't heard before, even if you've binged most of the Leshy videos on YouTube. We're gonna go ahead and get into it, and we're first starting with... There are many depictions of the Leshy throughout Slavic folklore. Each depiction changes small details here and there. This is either because of similar actual creatures with similar descriptions, or because this was oral tradition, these stories were told over time and adapted themselves, and so that just caused small details to change when they were told in different locations. The Leshy, at a basic explanation, is the embodiment of the forest. He is the guardian and the protector of the woodlands. There is a bunch of speculation going back and forth on whether or not there are multiple Leshies. There are. When you start getting into the lore of it, it's like there has to be multiple Leshies. They do trading with other Leshies. There are stories of multiple Leshies having interactions. There are stories of... there's reason to believe there's more than one Leshy. Stories of Leshies having children that become other Leshies. But they can also become other things. We'll get into that. Say cheese! What the Leshy actually looks like is a really fun topic to cover. It's kind of ambiguous, but there are some distinctions. But there's a reason why it's so ambiguous. There are some stories of him looking like a poor Russian man who does not wear a belt and has his shoes on inverted. Why? We'll get into that. Others say he comes as a tall, dark figure, hiding just outside of the tree line. He's got antlers and glowing eyes. Now, the most common form of the Leshy, though, is an old, very big old man who's got moss on his skin. He's got hair of leaves and grass coming out of his armpits. He is so sick looking, dude. He looks like the forest, but in humanoid form. It is so good. He's got the bark of a knobbly old tree, and his eyes glow golden or green. This is by far my most favorite depiction of the Leshy, and I'm so glad that it is the commonly decided, like, average thing he shows up as. It is sick. Now, you're probably not asking this, but just in case you are, I hear you.
Okay, but why is his appearance so hard to pin down? Is it more story bending through word of mouth?
No. There is a very good reason why the Leshy's appearance changes so much. They are shapeshifters. Now, that's very common to find in Slavic legends or Fey legends and stuff like that, but what's cool about the Leshy is he's not your average shapeshifter. The Leshy is an ethereal shapeshifter. Now, what on earth does that mean? An ethereal shapeshifter is simply a shapeshifter that can change beyond the norm. Like, I have to give examples, okay? Instead of a normal shapeshifter being able to turn into a deer or a different person, he can do those things. However, he could shapeshift into raw energy. He can shapeshift into a breeze carried through the woods. He could shapeshift into sunlight peeking through the branches. He could shapeshift into a falling leaf. He can do anything because he's an ethereal shapeshifter, as long as he is within his domain. Once he's out of his domain, I don't know. He might not be able to shapeshift anymore. He kind of loses some abilities. The Leshy can also change his height, which is kind of like, obviously, he can shapeshift, he can change his height, but it's a little bit It's a little bit more important than that because it helps you to identify him. A lot of legends say that his max height that he can grow to is limited by the trees in his forest. It is either the average height of all the trees or the tallest height of the tallest tree in his forest. He can't go any higher than that. And when he leaves his domain, the woods, he can only be the size of like the nearest plant to him. Oftentimes, that is blades of grass. So, you ain't gonna see that man. But also, this lets us know, yeah, he can be like tiny, 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 and you'd never know he was there, which is just like, that's kind of hilarious, but also terrifying. The Leshy has an attitude akin to that of a fairy, or, fittingly enough, your stereotypical forest guardian. What does this mean? So he's pretty indifferent to people. He'll leave you alone like most of the time. Not a big deal. But if you go into the woods with intentions to do something destructive, not just to preserve yourself or take what you need, but just because, he might not take too kindly to you. This could be any number of things. Basically, at the normal level, if you just like to step on plants just because, he might make you not be able to find your way to the place you're going until you're late. Or if you're a hunter and you just do it for sport, he might make it so that you're never able to find any animals to hunt. If you've got real nefarious plans, if you are ready to do something destructive to the forest that is actually going to be damaging, or cut down a tree for no reason because this man is like the scary Lorax, he will show up and bam, you're teleported to like a terrifying realm that is very difficult to escape. Actually, it's not. It's just very embarrassing to escape, which we will also get to in a minute. But he'll teleport you to a realm. But we'll talk about that realm in a second when we get to his abilities. It is kind of scary. But then again, because the Leshy is pretty neutral and he's a forest guardian spirit, if you do good things for the forest, if you leave him gifts, if you're just generally a vibe, he might do good things for you, such as become a will-o'-the-wisp and lead you through a shortcut that makes you get to your location so much faster. Or if you're just going through a stroll, maybe he'll lead you down a pathway you didn't know was there before, and bam, there's this gorgeous grotto that's just immaculate, and it just is like, whoa, this is sick. And now you know where a gorgeous grotto is that the Leshy just shared with you. But there are some cases of him even giving magical powers to people, which is sick. Okay, like, dude, you just become friends with this forest spirit and he's just like, and then he snatches you, right, which is terrifying, but don't worry because you're gonna come back, and he takes you to his house, and then you guys have tea, and he's just like, hey, look at this, and just does something magical, and he's like, no, you try, and then you do it and you're magical, and then he's just like, nice, and then you're back at your spot, but now you have magical powers. What? I want to befriend a Leshy. That sounds so cool. But the Leshy is almost never seen face to face. He prefers to hide within his domain, transforming into trees or leaves or grass or bushes or animals, and he just watches you. Okay. He might taunt you, which is hilarious to think like that bush over there is just like laughing at you. But like, you generally ain't gonna see him face to face. If you do have an actual physical run-in with the Leshy, you will be changed. There are things that happen to you when you come back. This isn't anything dramatic most of the time unless he really doesn't like you, but if you just have a run-in with him and it's kind of just whatever, you will start to have a very deep passion for the woods. You will want to be in the woods a lot more. You will become kind of antisocial. There are cases like stories where people get very antisocial and they just don't even want to talk to anybody anymore, but that's not common. Commonly, it's just more like a hermit. It's just like, oh yeah, I'll come into town, just, hey guys, what's up? Okay, I'm going back to my hut, and then you just prefer to be out there in the woods. They usually take up foraging, or they learn sorcery, which is crazy, as like new hobbies when they get back. So, realistically, what is this thing? No, Martha, I don't mean hyper-realistically. We're suspending our disbelief here. I mean, I believe in this thing to an extent, but we're suspending our disbelief here. I'm not saying, ooh, is this something made up? No, I mean, like, let's consider all lore together. What would this thing fit into categorically? I've got three main three main theories for it. The first theory is that this was exactly what the Slavs said it was. It was some spirit that abided over the forest simply because it was the forest, or that forest was its house, alright? It took care of it. It, was a balancing act for it. And in doing so, it was just a balancing act for the whole ecosystem around it. It just did this out of its nature. Now, I really like this theory. However, I wanted to go on some different theories because A, it's interesting, and B, I believe in the Christian God. And while the Leshy has been Christianized a lot, I Christianize in a little bit of a different way. So, we're gonna get into some other theories. If you believe like I do, you might think that my theories have some merit. We'll see. I think they're really fun to come up with. Another theory has to do with the Christianization of the Leshy, like the original Christianization of it. It is that this thing is a fallen angel, but they thought it was a demon. That doesn't quite fit in, but it could be a fallen angel, which those are different, by the way. A demon is more like a crazy rogue spirit that just does crazy stuff. A fallen angel has its roles. It has things that it's supposed to do, right? So if we look back in the Bible, we can find these things called principalities. They are meant to abide over specific areas. In the book of Daniel, I don't remember the chapter off the top of my head, there is the angel of Greece and the angel of Persia. Michael, the archangel Michael, is fighting these dudes. Okay, you can go find it, look it up, it's in there. These things were principality angels. They abide over a specific area. They were fallen, but they still had a job to do. But they obviously did that job twisted, right? Leshies could be not even a fallen angel, right? Like, they don't have to be fallen. Only a third are fallen. They could just be good angels, and some could be fallen angels, but they are angels that abide over the forests and take care of the woods. Sick, because humans are not in their jurisdiction, right? The forests are. They are pretty indifferent to people because that ain't their job. Their job is the woods. So if a person strolls in and starts a forest fire, that angel has the right to just you, okay? Like, that's how so that is a theory that I think is really cool. I like that theory. Then the last theory is actually really cool. What makes things actually conscious? What gives consciousness? Now, if you're, again, a Christian like me, God breathed into humanity to give them a soul. But that is a common misconception of consciousness, because he didn't breathe into the animals, but they are still conscious, right? The soul is something different. But consciousness, what makes that? There's a bunch of interesting studies on it, stuff that has to get into like quantum biology and stuff like that. All theory, none of this is straight up, everything I'm giving you right now is just theoretical. It's because it's fun to talk about and cool. Do not take my word on this as actual science. It's just really sick to look into. I'm interested in it. But there's like conjecture that maybe conscious things arise from complex systems. And the more complex a system gets, the more quantum things go on with it. It creates a sort of consciousness bubble around this complex system. Now, if that's the case, that would be why we're conscious, why animals are conscious, because we are systems that are incredibly complicated. And so we have this bubble of consciousness around us. How is like an environment any different than an animal? Think about it. Animals eat. The woods eat. They absorb dead things. They absorb sunlight that is eating. Alright? Animals reproduce. The woods reproduce. They're constantly making new trees. They grow. It's a system. It's a system because animals are systems. Environments are systems. Then you scale up, you've got the planet. But this is a whole other conversation. But let's just what if the forests are legitimately conscious? And then they have the consciousness to be able to actually create this form that is the Leshy. And so now this dude exists and he is the forest. The forest is his body. And so he can just transform into anything of the forest because it all interacts with the system. It's all part of him. So he can guide the system to become this. And that is him. Are you following what I'm saying right now? I know I'm talking kind of vague. It's because I don't really know how to say this more specifically, but the Leshy just straight up is actually the forest. I love that. Like, they say that, but they don't say that, if you know what I mean. But then you actually start thinking about it and building it up, and it's like, oh, that's cool. I like that. So that is the third theory on what the Leshy is. So now that you've been briefed on the Leshy and you see why he's so epic and why I love him, I'm gonna tell you how to kill him. There are a few things the Leshy can do that is severely going to trip you up, my guy. Myra, that one time when you tripped on nothingness right after exiting a very difficult hike, that was the Leshy. That was the Leshy. That's what it was. I promise you didn't trip on air. Only, like no unlobotomized person would trip on air, okay? So firstly, it can trap you in a forest pocket dimension. This was the thing I was talking about earlier when I said if it really doesn't like you, it will send you away to somewhere scary. It can make a pocket dimension, okay? It can make a pocket dimension. There are people and stories who have said that they have been trapped in these horrific fates where they walk that way and they just end up in the same exact spot. So they go that way and it's just the same exact spot. It's like an SCP that I don't remember the number of. You cannot escape, and that is horrific. Sometimes they say that the thing that they're like bound to is either the Leshy himself, or a specific tree the Leshy chose, or sometimes even the Leshy's house, which is generally inside of a tree. They say that they are bound to the spot with magic. If searchers are searching for you and they get kind of near you, they'll be able to hear you calling out for help, but they can't see you, no matter how close they get. And it's not like if you're standing here in that realm and then they're standing here in this realm and you're yelling, they won't hear you like that. It'll sound like you're off in the distance. But you're like, it's lost contact. Something interesting just to note about this pocket dimension, the Leshy, this is kind of not very chill in the current day, nor was it in any day, but he used to like kidnap women and make them his wives. You know, some women may be like, oh, you're kind of cool, this is cool, I'm down, but not all of them. Not all of them, let's be real here, okay? But he would give them magical abilities most of the time, which is pretty cool. So just magical abilities, you know what I'm saying? But he would kidnap them, make them their wives, but they'd have ability. They wouldn't be trapped in the actual pocket dimension, they'd be trapped in the dimension. So they can go and they can see everything, but nobody can see them. They can't interact. Actually, they can interact with objects and stuff, but like nobody can interact with them, which is interesting, and that carries over into a lot of other lore as well. It gets really cool, really interesting. Love Slavic folklore. Oh my gosh. Now, I lied earlier when I said that it's really embarrassing to escape this dimension. You can try some other things before you do the embarrassing part, okay? So, what you're gonna wanna do, trace your steps backwards. Exactly. Like this. If you do it right, you will get out. The next thing you could do to the Leshy is apologize to it. You probably messed up. That's why you're here right now, unless he wants to make you his wife, in which case I'm sorry. You're screwed. Bad choice of word. But just straight up, like, I heard one story of a dude who he realized he was trapped here. He sat down on a tree crying because he was like accepting that he's gonna just die. And then he was just like, please, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I did to offend you, but I apologize. Please accept please grant me your forgiveness and show me the way to escape. And the Leshy was just like, he didn't say anything, but this is what he was doing, I imagine. I like your humbleness, boy. You can leave now. And he just parted the trees. And the dude looked up and saw the trees parted, and he said, thank you. And he just got up and sprinted. Which is a good call, because obviously the Leshy didn't like him. He trapped him there, but he was letting him go. So the man was like, I will get out of your house as soon as I can. Thank you, good sir. That worked. Does not always work, though. So, if it doesn't, you're going to have to resort to the last resort. Actually, there's one other thing. I would highly not recommend it because it has to do with the Christianization of the Leshy, which means it might not work. And also, you're creating a bigger enemy by doing this. But denounce God. If you denounce God because the Christians came in and were like, oh, this is obviously a demon, and if you renounce God, he'll be like, oh, he's chill like that? He's chill like that. But that's not necessary. We don't know that. I seriously doubt that would do anything. Except make God like, dude, really? Like God would just be disappointed in you. Don't do that. Now, the actual last resort that is embarrassing. Normally, do not swear in the woods. The Leshy hates swearing, okay? But if you are stuck in this pickle, you're going to want to make him really annoyed at you, okay? I don't know why this works, but it was the only one that I found that seems to have consistently worked. But strip down buck naked while kicking and punching trees and screaming profanities. Screaming profanities and kicking and punching trees and woodland creatures and such is usually a great way to get trapped in the realm. I don't know why you want to do it now that you're stuck. You're just making them really mad. It might be to show dominance or something. It probably is. But basically do that, get them real mad. Then the reason you're buck naked is because now you want to put your clothes back on. All of them need to be inside out. And you need to do something like flip your shoes. Some people just flip the soles of their shoes to be confusing. Put your belt on like weird, you know. If you brought a backpack, maybe wear it on the front. You're supposed to do weird stuff with your clothing, okay? The reason being, the Leshy is, in Slavic lore, the left or backward stuff is often associated with these spirits, alright? Spirits and with demonic stuff, that was from more Christianization. But, backwards, left things, inside out stuff, all associated with that. That's associated with their realm that you can get teleported into, which is used through other Slavic lore and such like that. So, by doing that, you are essentially showing dominance, making him mad, saying, I don't care, and then going in reverse. That way, it teleports you back to the normal realm, because you're in their realm, so you are reversed. But then by doing that to your clothes, it should bring you into the other realm. Now he's just like, oh my gosh, they mean business. And so he lets you leave. While you put your clothes back on, though, they did recommend praying and saying very nice things. So the inverse, okay, this is supposed to be symbolic of you being in their realm and then transferring back over to ours, okay. Very embarrassing, but who cares? You're gonna freaking die, okay? What happens if you don't leave this realm, okay? What happens if you don't leave this realm and you don't become his wife? Because if you become his wife, you're chilling. But if you don't become his wife, what happens? Basically, if you stay here for too long, you can just starve to death, starve or dehydrate to death, which is like kind of like an obvious, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But you could also turn into like a Leshy spawn. That is not the correct terminology. I forgot the correct terminology and I didn't write it down. Whatever, it does matter. I will edit it in. But basically, if you stay here too long, you will start to look like the Leshy. You will get bark skin. You'll get grass hair. Grass armpits. Oh, heavens no. But you'll also lose your mental capacity. You will become like a wild feral animal. You will hate human contact and you will actively attack people on sight. Horrific stuff. That will just be you. You'll become a living tree person that's wild and aggressive, and it's, oh no. But if you manage to get out, you're fine. You're in the clear. As long as you're not there, you're not transforming into that thing. And it takes a while. It's like a slow process. I don't know what happens if you're like kind of in the middle of transforming and then leave, but I think you lose your mind first. So if you lose your mind, you're not really escaping, but if somehow you do, then you're just going to be a psycho wandering around is, I guess, how that's going to work. So, now, the next thing the Leshy can do is he can smite you with his sexy tree trunk legs. I don't know what to tell you. Run. He can make you go crazy for them tree trunk legs. No, this is the thing that I was just telling you, where you're trapped in his realm and slowly transforming into that thing. But he can also just do this to you. He can just curse you. He doesn't have to put you in the realm, he can just curse you. But if you leave the woods, that's when you're safe. But if you get lost in the woods, this is like, it's the same thing, it's just you're not in his domain, you're in the normal woods, but he can still just put that on you. But then don't go back to those woods, because if you go back, he's just gonna kill you. He will smite you with the sexy tree trunk legs, okay? Now, I don't know for sure that leaving the forest stops this. It just seems like it. If somebody would mind checking in on that, and I'll do a little update, somebody go be a test subject for me, that would be immaculate. Thank you. I'll pay you like $3. In the future, I'll be calling this section a weaknesses most of the time, but for the Leshy, there's not really weaknesses, but there are ways to diffuse the situation. You're not supposed to kill this guy, okay? He's supposed to be the unkillable NPC boss side character that just does stuff. So you're not supposed to go for this, so there are ways to appease him. These things are generally very, very simple. They're not difficult to do. It's just things you do to show respect to this dude. Now, something you can do is leave an oblation. Look up that word. I love that word. It's pretty cool. He likes if you leave him bread with salt, because bread is a common household commodity, so it shows hospitality and friendliness. But then salt is actually like a generally rare good. It's not in our modern society, but it's still not something that you just find everywhere, right? And so he appreciates that because then that shows you're giving a little bit extra respect there with the salt on that bread. You could probably cook him up a turkey. He'd probably be like, heck yeah, brother, but like, you don't gotta do that. Now with the Leshy, it is very give and take type relationship. I would highly recommend befriending your local Leshy instead of trying to hunt him. If you get on his good side, little buddy with the man, he will bless you in hunting and foraging. He will make animals come your way because he does have to cull animals, right? He is supposed to balance the ecosystem. If things get out of hand, he's got to balance it. He does it by whatever means necessary, but if he likes you, he'll let you be those means. He could also like lead you to like treasure and stuff in the woods, I guess, if he's willing to get rid of it or give it to you, or maybe he'd even trade. Not a good idea with most other spirits, but it appears to be fine to take gifts from the Leshy. Don't take gifts from unknown forest spirits. I am stressing this very realistically to you right now. You will get possessed by a demon. Another thing that you can do, like I was saying earlier, don't swear! He hates it for some reason. I don't know if he's a demon. I don't know why he doesn't like swearing. But apparently, if you just start swearing all over the place, he'll be like, that's enough, and then you're gone, okay? Maybe just keep a clean mouth in the woods. It's not hard, just, I don't know. But then there's also information that says if you swear, it'll make him go away, because he doesn't like it. Cogs are turning. Okay, it's probably Leshy based on different personalities. I bet you some Leshies, they don't consider it a big enough problem for you swearing to be like, ice him. But if it's just a particularly like annoyed Leshy and you're swearing all over the place, he'll be like, alright bozo, I am sick of this. So that would make sense. You can also just talk to the thing apparently, like friendlyly. You can also pray, makes sense, or recite spells, like specifically pagan spells, because this has to do with Slavic stuff. Now, I'm a Christian, and as a Christian, I believe that pagan spells are secondary to the power of God, but you do you, boo, because it still would work. So, real jab though, after just saying that I'm Christian, real jab at the Christianity of this thing. It's really easy to mark off the list what's Christianization and what's not. If it would kill a vampire or a werewolf, it's probably Christianization, okay? Because there are stories of salt warding this thing off. All the Slavs are saying, give it salt and bread. It's not warding the thing off, okay? Salt is not going to ward this thing off. There are also things with crosses that you can do that are supposed to, like, make it mad. It's like, I don't think that's going to happen. This is just kind of a forest spirit type dude. Every time that I mention salt as a protective measure from here on out, you have to scream. You have to scream, like, out loud, at least 240 decibels. Please. Alright, so what type of equipment are you going to need to take this thing down? I will give you stuff from the lore perspective, and then I will give you stuff from my own prior experiences. I have not hunted a Leshy before, but I have been around the block. First off, you're going to want some basic hiking gear. Water, trail mix, a flashlight with a bunch of extra batteries, maybe a ball cap to keep yourself in shade. You're in the woods, you don't really... If you want a hat, take a hat with you. If they say salt, scream. Don't believe it. Do not be deceived, it's probably a lie. I seriously doubt it'll work. Take a machete with you that'll just cover some of your basic needs. You can cut through the brush to find the Leshy, and if you happen to run into any coyotes, just very useful tool. Maybe pack a crucifix just in case you accidentally run into a werewolf instead of a Leshy. Now, once you're actually getting into combat with the thing, some Spartan armor might be a good start. I still don't recommend killing this thing, even though I'm actively telling you how to kill this thing. The Leshy does not like copper. I don't know why. Like, I'll be honest, like, I know why we use silver or steel with other things. I'm not sure why copper. It probably doesn't have to do with the electricity, but I really like the idea that it does, because electricity is kind of like tech. It's kind of the antithesis of the woods, stuff like that. So you could associate it with that. If that was the case, it would be like really cool to get into like electronic weaponry. I've like made this taser here, except it's all disconnected because I'm trying to change out what it was on. But like, you know, make like a big old electric glaive. Glaives in a second. Firearms. He hates firearms. If you get copper bullets in a firearm, get a copper slug would be scary. All right, copper bullets. Apparently, he hates those. That is refreshing in this economy. I have spent way too much money hunting werewolves. It cost a house and a firstborn child just to get a couple buckshots of silver. Okay. Now it also doesn't like fire. I would have never guessed that. It's afraid of dogs, which is interesting, and it won't touch you if you make like a circle out of sacred objects. This is presumably meant to mean salt, but we know scream because we know that's a lie. You could also probably use Bibles, like if you make Bibles in a circle. But obviously, if you do that first, you should put down like a big slab of wood, because you shouldn't be putting Bibles on the dirt. It's also weak to linden sticks. Now, when I tried looking into it, the first thing that I found was like linden walking canes, which are just like hook canes. So it might be weak to those, which is hilarious because grandma is kitted to kill a Leshy apparently. But then I was talking to Jonna, who is like my cool aunt that goes all over the place. She's been in Romania, she knows Romanian and stuff. She was telling me about linden trees, and I was like, oh, no, it's legitimately linden sticks, like the stick of a linden tree. It's also scared of a coppice, which I didn't know the name of until I was researching the Leshy, and I'm so thankful. The glaive, I was talking about a glaive earlier. I have one of these things. It's my favorite tool ever. I'm so scared of it breaking and me not being able to find another one, but now I know they're called coppices. I gotta show you mine real quick though, because it's so much cooler than what you see online. But now I know it's a coppice. So now I know I have an actual Leshy killer. But imagine like electrifying a coppice. Let me grab mine and show you. Got it. This thing. The coppice. This thing cuts grass so good you would not believe it. It is insane. I love it. Imagine electrifying that thing. That would be so cool. And then there's mountain ash, which are also berries. If you make charms out of these berries or from the linden tree stuff, I'm pretty sure linden trees have berries. If you make charms out of them, like little friendship bracelet berry or something, it will ward off the Leshy. This also probably works with elderberries. Elderberries are also commonly used to ward off spirits. I found no specific things that says Leshies don't like elderberries, but in general, things that mountain ash works on, elderberries also work on. Now you're ready to hunt this thing. How are you going to track it down to actually deal some damage to it? If you try tracking it the traditional means, following its footprints, you're going to die. Don't do that. It will put false prints. It will lead you somewhere bad. Off a cliff, you won't see it coming because it'll be covered in leaves. It'll make one of those really, really, really big leaf traps that Team Rocket does, and you will die. You could. I have found no examples of somebody doing this to summon a Leshy, but we've already found out that it might work. Go into the trees. Go into the woods. Punch some trees, Steve style. Curse this thing out like mad, and it might show up. Probably won't, let's be honest here. It'll probably just smite you from a distance, but it might show up. But there are some more effective ways to do it without instantly getting smoten. So, let's go over those. Now this part might be due to Christianization. It probably is. It has to do with a cross. So if you put a cross in the dirt, then chop down little birch trees and make a circle around the cross, then remove the cross, then stand outside the circle and yell, "Grandfather!" Apparently, the Leshy will appear in the circle. This is said because of the Christianization. They say it's a demon. It has to appear where the cross is not. Therefore, in the circle of birch trees. Then you can just with your copper slug and kabam, you win. Probably not. If you kill it, you probably don't win. But you win. Another thing you could do that has a very much higher success rate but is a little bit more difficult to do, it takes some skill. But if you fell a pine tree onto 2 aspen trees, then go stand on all of them facing north, apparently he will just appear there in front of you. Probably because you just annoyed him, because he's like, why did you just like kill a pine tree and then make it eat dirt onto the 2 aspen trees? That was just, why would you do that to my bros? He's an angry Lorax now. Be very careful. There is a night called Ivan Kupala. It's a midsummer folk holiday, and it's practiced in some Slavic country. You can chop down an aspen so that it falls to the east, then stand on the stump facing the east, bend over and look between your legs. Now, if you're not familiar with Slavic lore, that just sounds wild. Why would you bend over and look between your legs? Like, is he setting you up for something? No. So this is actually a pro tip if you are a ghost hunter. If you bend over and look between your legs like that, you're supposed to be able to see spirits. This is a very common belief held among people. A lot of kids do it. Kids will do that, and that's why they see spirits more often, because they do that. But supposedly it's looking into their realm when you do that. But then, while you're doing that, you have to yell out, "Uncle Leshy, show yourself as I am, not as an animal, a plant, or a breeze." This doesn't really have to be specific, I'm pretty sure, the wording on this. You're just trying to get the point across that you need him to show up as a human, as you are. Not as an animal, not as a plant, not as a breeze or a random bit of energy, but a human. You're trying to like trap him within these words of show up like I am. Now, if you can do this, maybe you can tell him to show up as a little old sheep, and then it's a lot easier to just... You know what I'm saying? I have a feeling if you're hunting on the night of Ivan Kupala, something might happen. Like, I feel like that's probably a spiritual thing, but I haven't looked into it at all. I don't know anything about Ivan Kupala, so maybe look that up before you go hunt a Leshy, because something like maybe it could power up the Leshy. I don't know. I just know a lot of the like celebrations and stuff do stuff with spiritual power. Generally, they're celebrated on nights of extra spiritual power, and so if you hunt a Leshy on the night of Ivan Kupala, maybe he's more friendly, maybe he's more powerful. Maybe do a little bit of research before you go trying to kill him, because you might just get like smote in an instant, you know what I'm saying? Now, there are some passive ways to just make him like dislike you that could make him show up eventually, or could end you up in the pocket dimension. So again, I recommend doing one of the other earlier examples, but here are some things you can just do over time. Don't pray at night. Think about him before you go to bed, preferably not romantically. Close the door with your left hand before you enter the woods. This is gonna like ruin all of us American car drivers, because you open the door, you turn around, you close it with your left hand. That's what you do before you're hiking. You just screwed yourself. Absolutely obliterate an anthill with your left foot. If you do your left foot, the Leshy don't like it. Cut the top off of a birch tree with your left hand, which sounds a lot more specific. That might just straight up summon him. Or you can sit on a pine stump and call out for him 3 times. This also is more specific, might straight up just summon him, but probably won't. He probably either has to like you or hate you at that point to show up. Now, if you try one of these methods and it actually works, get ready for the showdown, boys and girls. It's gonna last exactly no longer than you trying to attack him once. I'm sorry. This has been build up, but I don't even think you get a trophy from him. I think if you just to this guy, he's gonna turn into some butterflies and just float away into the oblivion or something like that, okay? I don't think you can kill him. I don't think you should kill him.
Oh, you killed him.
I don't know how you did that, but cool. You just took out an old grandpa forest man. Nice. Let's see what happens. What rewards are you garnering from this death? I have not ever heard of a Leshy being killed before, so in my notes I have nothing written down. Let's go over some ideas of what you might get. Now, you could become the new owner of the woods, having to take care of it the same way the Leshy did. Because he was the caretaker, now he's gone, you might assume his place because of spiritual law. However, the more likely chance is now the forest is just gonna die or go absolutely insane, ape bananas on everything, and you included, and going to like overtake a bunch of stuff and kill a bunch of things. I don't know, but the forest can just do whatever the frick it wants now because you took away the dude that was in control of it. Also though, because of how the laws of trade and stuff work, it also would make sense that you do now, like, legally own the forest. That is yours now. Maybe you can't protect it, you cannot take care of it because you don't have his powers, but you own the forest now. It is supposed to be your responsibility, so it makes sense. Maybe you gain magical powers? Maybe, I don't know. Probably depends on if he blessed you before he died or not, which he might do for the sake of the forest. He might be like, oh, I took a copper slug to the gut. I know I'm gonna die. Take my powers so you can take care of the forest now. You're cursed! If you do not get to be the guardians of the woods, and that sucks because like I was just saying, you just killed the woods. It's gonna go rampant. I would venture to say you would get cursed from killing a Leshy. The woods will probably hate you forever. You probably can't set foot in the woods again without just getting instantly smited by a black bear. Now, what about the trophies that you could get? You might actually get a trophy because, like, it would make sense for him to stay as a physical form if you killed him because he's, like, building himself, maybe. So you might actually get, like, the Leshy corpse, which might just be made out of wood. But if he has antlers, you could steal his antlers. Maybe he has a skeleton, you could just, like, take his skeleton, which would be kind of cool. So don't ever go into the woods again if you just killed this guy because you will get immediately clapped by the spiritual ops. I'm sorry, you just got cursed. Alright guys, what did you think of that video? Hope you enjoyed it. I'm trying the different format. I actually have like a script like I used to do. I really enjoyed the Leshy. Diving into it, like reading about it on all this stuff. I really want to learn Russian. I don't know if that would give me an edge to actually read more on the Leshy specifically, but if I would learn like a Slavic language, I want to learn Russian because I've already got a little bit of it down. I think at this point I just need to memorize words and I can know how to speak it. But that way I could do more research on this. I might try transcribing it. I bet you that would help me out actually learning how to do it and I could get the information. That would be cool. That's a good idea. Anyways, it was really fun researching the Leshy. I really like him. You've probably seen him in like The Witcher, and I think he's in some other stuff. I haven't seen him in anything. I haven't played The Witcher, done stuff like that, but super cool dude. I really like the Leshy, so I hope you did too. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, thumbs up, subscribe. I will be making more content like this. Hit that bell so that you're notified when I make more content like this. That is greatly appreciated. If you want another cryptid or Slavic lore or Feywild stories, if you want me to cover things like that, leave a comment down in the description and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, I can see if you're subscribed or not. I'll probably take it even if you're not right now. I'm not getting any recommendations as it is, but I would love recommendations. If you stuck around this long, I really appreciate you just listening to the whole video. Like, I really appreciate you. You're a real one, homie. I would love to see you around in more videos. That would be so great. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. I would love to grow it into like a big channel. I'd love to make money off of this. Let's be real here. This would be my dream job. I'm not in it for the money, but I would love if I could just make this my job. Hope to see you in the next video. I am the Rat Man. Peace out.